Good start. Battery's low, that's all a good start. I'm just gonna start this video because if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. We are gonna do a book review on I Let You Go by Claire McIntosh. Let's just get going. I hate my intros to videos so much. I'll talk about me first. Basically, this book I actually finished reading a few weeks ago now. I've been meaning to review on it. I just haven't been able to because there's always been people in my house, like whether that be builders or visitors or people that are staying, visitors, same things. There's just never been a quiet moment in the house until today, which I should have been like, right, cool, let's get some filming done, but I just really wanted to enjoy a day in my house on my own. It was bliss. I've done 3 loads of washing, I've cleaned the bathroom, I've watched 2 episodes of Called the Midwife, I've cried at both of them. It's been wonderful. That's about me, more about the book. The reason I was bringing that up was it's been a while since I've read it, so it's not going to be a great review, is it? Because it's not fresh on my mind, which really annoys me. I like to do book reviews right after I've read them, when you've got all that excitement or frustration fresh off the bat, but we'll see what we can do. Emotional recall. Right, I'll let you go. What's it about? I'm going to do like a brief overview so that if you haven't read it, you can potentially go and read it afterwards. And then I'll get into the bits where there will be spoilers. I'll let you know before I start that bit so that you can switch off, go read it, then come back. Don't know how long you're pausing my video for, but it's a long time. So this was a Sunday Times bestseller. Tragic accident. It all happened so quickly. She couldn't have prevented it, could she? In a split second, Jenna Gray's world descends into a nightmare. Her only hope of moving on is to walk away from everything she knows to start afresh. Essentially, this is a story about a hit and run. So there's a small child, 5-year-old child called Jacob. I think I'm going to forget names because it's been so long. Called Jacob, who gets run over and killed, and the person who runs them over drives away. So the story is about, like, it's in 2 parts. So part 1 follows the life of Jenna Gray and then the life of the detectives who are working on the case. And at first I preferred the story of the detectives, and then I preferred the story of Jenna Gray. And then part 2 was about the person who did it. There's another character comes into it. I'm not going to say anything because you need to go and read it. And then also still the detectives again following their story. The story of Jenna is told in the first person, so you hear it from her point of view, and the story of the detectives is told in the third person, so it's like Detective Gray did this. That's not his name. Detective is Ray. Can't remember his surname. Ray and some woman who I've forgotten her name. That's what the story is about. Now, it says, like, review-wise, it's like chilling with a killer twist. Sensational, astonishingly good. Now, those reviews were from, like, astonishingly good is from Lee Child, big author, big, massive author. Not in terms of physical size, in terms of his writing. There's just so many good reviews, especially on the book. I mean, obviously they print good stuff on the book. They're not going to print disappointing on the book, but you know what I mean. When it says certain things like killer twist, I'm like, what's the twist gonna be? I want to know what that is. So what I will say is all the twists in the book I saw coming. However, I have read quite a lot of thriller books now, and my mind is more open to what is potentially most likely going to happen. So I don't think it's a fault of the writer, because I do know a lot of people. I know a lot of people. I have read a lot of other people's reviews, and I've seen that, you know, a lot of people didn't see the twists coming, but I think people who are a bit more like me, who've read a lot of thrillers, did see the twists and thought it was maybe a bit cliche. However, what I will say is, in spite of being able to see the twists and everything coming and kind of guessing a few things that were going to happen, it's still a really good read for me personally. I think it's great. I think that it's still worth reading despite the fact that you might see a twist coming, because the story is just really, like, on one hand it's really nice to read. Jenna moves to Wales, and not gonna say it. So Jenna moves to Wales and she's like living in this coastal like place, and she meets a guy, and I really liked reading that stuff. Like, I would happily just read about her life in Wales even if it was really dull. Her setting up this business there and being on the beach, like everything the way it described it, it just brought up nice images in my head and became quite a joy to read. I liked it for that. The detective story, I liked at first. I kind of liked the insight to that. I liked because it was very informative, and as I later found out, the author used to be in the police, so she knows how those things work. She knows how investigations work. She knows about ranks of police officers and that kind of thing. So that to me was quite interesting to start off with. But as it went on, I fully saw where their storyline was going and just wasn't into it. Just wasn't bothered by it. I thought, I don't care about these bits. I was like reading these bits really quickly, like, ugh, not that interested in these bits. So I've rambled a little bit, but essentially what I'm going to say is you may see the twist coming, but I do still think it's a worthwhile read. The characters in it I like. There's characters in it that you hate, and it's a genuinely quite interesting read. There are some twists I think are thrown in at the end that are a bit like, okay, that wasn't really necessary. I think you're just trying to get the shock factor in here if we haven't already been shocked. So I think for that fact, you should go and read it. Now, go and read it. Stop my video if you haven't watched it, read it. If you haven't read it, stop my video now, go away, read it, come back to me, and we'll continue our chat, because now I'm going to talk about the whole book, spoilers and all. Hello, fellow readers. So if you've read this book, you may or may not think the same as me. You may have loved it, you may have hated it. I'm like somewhere in between. I didn't think it was the best book I've ever read, but I really enjoyed reading it, but there was a lot of bits of it that I really didn't like. Not really didn't like, but didn't like. So the first part of the book, obviously you've got Jenna Grey. Now I spent in part one the whole time confused as to, was she the hit and run driver or was she the mother of Jacob? Now a lot of people say there was a big plot twist halfway through the book, and that's obviously I think when you get to part two. And so at the end of that chapter you find out that Jenna Grey is in fact the driver of the car, or not the, well, you know what I mean, like if you're still listening, you've obviously read the book. So you find out that she was obviously in the car that day, shall we say, and I was a bit like, I was still confused. I was like, is she or isn't she? And I'm not sure if that was the author's intention, or was it? Did she intend for us to be confused as to whether this character was the driver or the mother, or someone completely random and irrelevant to the story? Obviously she's not going to be the third option, because that would just be completely pointless and no reader is that stupid. But were we meant to be confused about this, or did I just personally get confused about this? Can someone clarify for me? Because I've not seen anyone else write about this. Everyone said, oh, that plot twist in the middle. Can someone verify what they mean? Please, thank you. Next point, I mean, I really liked the way her story was in part one and part two. I liked reading her chapters. I thought she was an interesting character in a difficult situation, and I don't think it was too unrealistic, anything that happened to her or what she decided to do. I think it was all pretty normal. However, the detective story, I just found it all very cliche. I knew that him and his partner, but I can't even remember her name, don't care. I knew that they were going to kiss, potentially even more. It didn't go that far. I just didn't really care. I thought, this is so boring, so cliche. Why did that have to be a part of it? It really annoyed me. I thought, why can't a male and a female just work with each other on a really cool case, have a really strong bond, and not want to fuck each other? Why can't that be a thing? No? Just me? Okay, cool. Just pisses me off. Affairs, it's like, and she's like the young trendy person and his wife at home's nagging him. It's so cliche. I get that that happens a lot. I get it. But maybe like just write about something different. I don't know. That just annoyed me a little. Just a touch. Just a touch. And I have to say that I found all his family life stuff totally irrelevant and annoying to read. I really thought it was going to go somewhere other than the fact that his son was a bully. That to me was just completely pointless. I didn't see the point in that being a part of the book. And as I read, a few people put in the reviews that that wasn't really ever resolved, and it wasn't really. It's like, okay, we find out our son's a bully, right, great, we can deal with that now. But well, I just don't care. It's so irrelevant to the rest of the story for me. The story, if they'd cut that shit out, would have been much better. I really didn't care about his life. I was totally enthralled in what Jenna's life was about. Gave zero shits about him, like about Ray's life. So when you get to that middle part and you're like, oh, it was her. Was that the shock? I don't know. I'm confused. I was confused for like another few pages until I was like, oh, okay, no. She's definitely the driver. Well, the driver. However, I did fully foresee it wasn't her. And then when we started reading about her, like when you started getting her partner's chapters, Ian's chapters, oh my god, they were actually so well written. I have to say, I loved reading his chapters, like in a love to hate way. Like I absolutely hated his character. He made my skin crawl. The way he spoke about her was just chilling. Like I think that was very well done, you know, to really capture what a controlling, abusive person and relationship is like. It was perfect. I honestly thought that was done so well. I hated his character so much, and I think that was done brilliantly. And so, but when that, it did make everything slightly obvious from there on. I thought, well, obviously it's gonna be something to do with him, and he's gonna have done it, or he's gonna have made her do it, or something along those lines. Oh my god, my camera battery is flashing at me. Why? So yeah, I fully, let's just wrap this up quickly, we don't need to go on and on, but I fully saw all that coming, unfortunately, and that kind of ruined it for me. You know, the surprise that it was actually him, the surprise that, oh, it was his son, oh yeah, of course, yeah, like that was just a bit annoying. I just felt like it was too much. it would have been enough for it to have just been an accident for me. That would have been, I think in some ways that would have been more powerful for me, powerful for me to read, just being like a traumatic thing that happened one day, rather than it being slightly more premeditated. That just made it seem a bit more far-fetched, I think. A lot more far-fetched for me. And then obviously the bit at the end, it was a bit ridiculous that they just like let her go without any police protection. Yeah, go back to a really remote part of Wales where there's basically no police around. Yeah, you go there, we'll go catch the guy. We think he's at his house, we'll just go make sure he's there. I mean, that probably does happen from time to time. Errors of judgment like that, and her having been in the police, she could write that because she's probably seen that happen. It all felt a bit too dramatic. And then the fact that she thought she saw her name written in the sand at the end, I think that was more like a sign. Like, a lot of people think, oh, he's obviously still alive. I mean, that's chilling if he is, but I think it's more a sign of the like effects of mental abuse and how that never quite leaves you. So I think that was more to do with that, really. Rather than him still being alive. So I think that was fine. I think it was also fine to leave it open as to whether that was the case or not, and you can use your imagination a little bit. I don't think that's a big problem, but maybe some people need a bit more hand-holding to that. I don't know, like just guided along a little bit more. Also, the vet's character, I thought he was an absolute dream, but again, maybe like too dreamy. Like the way he was, if you find out that someone you're dating who's been quite secretive and a bit weird anyway, all of a sudden has actually killed someone and run away, when you've only been seeing them for that long, would you honestly really, you know, chase after them and go to all those extremes to make sure, like, to help them out? I just don't know. I think if I find out someone I've been dating for a few months is actually a killer, I'd be like, do you know what, cool, I'm done, thank you very much, but goodbye. Even if it turns out they're not, like, that's just quite a thing to get involved with. But, you know, superhero man versus evil man Ian, and little damsel in distress in the middle can't sort it out for herself. That doesn't quite sit right with me. I wish, like, she'd be able to fight back fully for herself. I know that in ways she did, but I wish she'd been able to do so, like, more so of that. But that's just me. Anyway, camera battery is flashing. I fully saw all the twists coming, which was a bit annoying, but I still enjoyed the story anyway. Is anyone else on the same boat with me for that? If you are, can you comment down below? If not, if you hated it, let me know. If you thought it was the best thing you've ever read, didn't see any of the twists coming, and like were fully shocked by it, let me know. Also, with the thing in the part 1, when you find out who Jenna is, did that confuse anyone else, or was it just me? Please let me know. Thank you. Okay, I'm wrapping this up so quickly because my batteries go like this. I don't have time to try and find my other batteries. So if you watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. Give us a like, hit